fun. Well, hello, Father Dominic. It's nice to see you.
Hey, PJ, good to see you.
Well, thank you so much for doing this spotlight on our Team Ole mission, the marathon team. So appreciate it. You've done this before, though. So tell me about your history with Team Ole.
So last year was my first time running with the sisters. I had talked to Sister some years before is when I first met her, but I'd always been finishing up seminary doing my studies. And so each year she'd be like, hey, you want to run this year? And be like, no, can't do it this year. And then last year she sent me something and was like, hey, I know you're back. You have to do it this year. And so I didn't have a choice, but I did want to do it. I'd heard about her running and the many people that run with, for Team OLA. And I was like, you know what better way to kind of get out there and force myself to run a marathon than with that kind of intention, that kind of group behind you. So I trained up last year and got up there to Chicago, ran the marathon with everybody. And as I typically do, I went out way too fast and it hurt like crazy and I crashed and burned a bit, but we got through the finish line and it got to the celebration with everybody right there afterwards as everybody's coming in. So awesome experience, just good camaraderie, great fun during the race until my legs weren't very happy with me. But good
highlight
time.
of the marathon last year for you?
Highlight of the marathon, man. Well, the charity mile was a great one. Somebody had told me that it was like somewhere around the half marathon point or so. And I think it was more like 15 or 16 miles because 16, yeah. I kept waiting. And that was the part where I could feel myself slowing down a bit. And I was like, I need some, pump up here. And I remember just coming up, it was just a bit around a corner or kind of up a hill, I guess. And you kind of get to the point where you're like, oh, I bet this is charity mile. And sure enough, there's a gaggle of sisters on the side just going bonkers as I jogged past and high fives all around. It was marvelous. That was a much needed boost during the race.
Wow, that's awesome. So are you a lifetime runner then?
Yes and no. I played soccer growing up. So I was fairly quick on my feet, I suppose. Once that petered out sort of in high school, I did more running, mostly just like 5Ks and like fun runs, stuff like that. But I kept in shape by running. And it wasn't until seminary that I started doing kind of longer distance sorts of races. My first year in seminary was when one of the other guys from my diocese talked me into running a half marathon that was there in Indianapolis. I did 2 years of college seminary there. They did a half marathon and they got a group together of like a race for vocations. So there's young people around the diocese, some priests, some seminarians, and they coordinated like a little bit of training and then running the race together. And one of the seminarians got me and was like, hey, let's run this thing together. So it was myself and a couple of other guys from our diocese that decided to train for it. And I never ran anywhere near that distance before. I ran up to, as I said, like 5, maybe something like that miles. And so I was like, okay, this is gonna hurt. And it did. But it was so much fun to train with those guys, to have a schedule where you're like, hey, Tuesday morning, we're going for a 8-mile run, be there. It doesn't matter if it's raining or sleeting or whatever. We're going. And sure enough, you'd get there, you'd lace up, off you go. You'd push your way through it together. And it was good prayer time. It was good time with those brothers. And throughout seminary, I continue to really, really enjoy running with other guys as a means for both those reasons. And that's where I ended up running my first marathon was while I was studying in Rome, a couple of times with different groups at different marathons. We decided to train up and try to run one together. So I got to run the Rome marathon. I got to run one in England. And then last year, Sister talked me into running the Chicago one.
You're very modest, Father Dominic, but you run a pretty fast pace. Give me some sense of what your pace is.
Well, last year I did about 3:20, something like that, for the Chicago Marathon. I had gone a smidge faster than that for the Rome Marathon several months before. I got about a 3:05. So I was hoping that was sort of my goal, was to get somewhere in that range. I was happy with the end time, especially since the last 8 miles were rough. But we'll see. I don't know if is that the goal, to nail out a pace like that again? I don't know, but somewhere around there is kind of where I settle in usually and see how long I last.
You must give a lot of joy or show that running is so joyful, because I understand you've found someone to take the very last slot in Team OLA.
Yes, indeed. So one of the seminarians, actually during these days with the pandemic all around us, one of our seminarians for the diocese, because the seminary had been, stopped for the semester, moved in here at the cathedral where I'm assigned in Springfield. And so he was living here in one of the rooms, and him and I were like, hey, let's get some workouts in. We're not hitting the gym, but the weather's getting nice, so we need to be doing something together. So he was not much of a runner, but he was a bit better at like calisthenics and kind of like body weight exercises. So we sort of combined our talents. I've been showing him the ropes about, pushing his mileage up. We've gotten to 5 or 6 miles, and he's been killing me with pull-ups and push-ups and sit-ups and stuff. So we've been getting each other out there just about every day, training together. And I think last week I had sent a message to sister and I said, hey, do you have slots left? Because I want to talk him into running the marathon with us. We had talked about it a little bit. She's like, I've got like 1 slot left. Get him on this, So I talked to him, said, hey, you need to send something to sister immediately. And I think because he didn't have time to think about it, he sent something, and now he's booked. He's got to do it now.
That's awesome. It must, now you have a coercion partner, right?
Yep, exactly. Hey, those long runs, I want somebody to be going out there with. You're looking outside and it's like, I don't want to do that today. It's like, well, no, we're doing it today. Let's get this thing started. We'll get it done. We'll get ready for that marathon.
That's awesome. So you described the fact that you live at the cathedral, or at the residence at the cathedral. Tell us what your official duties are and how they're going to change.
Sure. Yeah. So this past year has been my first year assigned here as a parochial vicar, which means I do the normal kind of sacramental duties around the parish, helping to teach classes and, say the mass, hang out with the families and all of those things. This coming year, I will be shifting more towards being an MC for Bishop Ibraki. Also lives here. I've been doing some of the MC stuff this past year with him, but while I'll remain in residence here, as they call it, at the cathedral, my role will be almost entirely in terms of helping him as he goes around the diocese, does various liturgies, and helping to organize the servers and to offer a little spiel on, talking about confirmation or First Communion, when the kids are receiving those different sacraments, as well as part of that role alongside of it will be working in the vocations department of the diocese. So helping with our vocations director in terms of getting more seminarians and encouraging them as best I can, but also working with our marriage and family office to encourage vocations to, how do we sustain and, help shore up marriages, families? How do we encourage them to, tell their kids about following that call of the Lord, to give themselves to it with zeal and I don't know, find some peace amidst the turmoil that faces all of us, but that, God's vocation kind of offers us that path through. So yeah, all of that stuff coming, much of it to be figured out as I go, and a lot of the Lord's grace is going to have to be involved, but I'm excited for it. So
that's excellent. Anything we should know about your vocation story?
Ooh. Gosh, I think, well, this one, it's a bit of a humbling one, is that when I was a little kid, I thought about being a priest, and it stuck with me a long time. As other thoughts came and went, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be an engineer. Those things didn't stick around, but the thought of priesthood did. But it really wasn't until my own sister, I have a twin sister, and she entered the Dominican convent after her first year of college, both of our first year of college. And it wasn't until that point when she entered that cloistered life of a Dominican nun that I was kind of like, okay, like sort of a gut punch where you're like, I thought I had, I'd thought about this longer. Like, I'm the guy, I'm supposed to have the guts to do this, but I didn't. And she had the courage to follow after the Lord. So I think her inspiration was huge, and her prayers ever since then have been so important in my own kind of getting into seminary, really loving it, and now being a priest. I'll have to ask her to pray for the whole OLA team, get us on their list.
We're looking for prayer warriors, so if she wants to be one of them, we'll add her to the list.
She and her convent are that. Yeah.
Great. So do you have a large family then, or do you come from a large family?
So it's myself, my twin sister, and I have a younger brother as well. He's married, so my mom and dad kind of have a trifecta of vocations going, which they're pretty proud of. But he got married about 2 years ago, and him and his wife, I got to see them just this past Memorial Day. Thank the Lord, and they're doing well. Yeah, getting things ready. I hope and pray for some nephews and nieces.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're starting to run, you're starting to train. Any advice for marathoners that are new this year to the team?
Sure. Well, Jesus says it better than I. Be not afraid. There's something so daunting about running a marathon, and it remains daunting even after you've ran them before. Just the prospect of the training that you're going to need. The fact that there's going to be days that you're like, I am really hurting. I don't want to get in those couple of miles, and I need to today. Just the ups and downs of that training. Yeah, it's going to hurt some days. That's okay. Push through. Find those other people that can kind of encourage you. Find those people you can offer it up for. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but like come up with an intention. Every time you're going out for a run, think about somebody you're carrying with you, somebody to keep in mind as you offer those miles for them. It helps a ton to give them to that greater purpose. It's not just you trying to beat the pavement. You know what I mean? Like it's you trying to be better yourself and to better some other people while you're at it. I think that'd be the biggest thing.
Well, that's a good one because it occurs every day of the year in the Bible, right? 365 times.
365
right?
times. Yep.
So that's an awesome quote. There's no excuses, right?
Get out there. Take courage, as Jesus says.
To end here, anything or what's become the pandemic that we're in has changed a lot of our lifestyles.
Yeah.
What positive things have come out of the pandemic for you?
Oh, good. Two big things. One is the fact that here at the cathedral, with less on our schedules and on the calendar, we've had a lot more time together. So partly like the running and the exercising that I've gotten to do with Ryan, that's been awesome. Just like the Monopoly games in the evening and cooking dinner together, stuff like that. That's it's normal, it's simple, it's basic, but it's the fundamental way that we do relate with each other. And to have that time with my brother priests and the seminarians has been a great gift. It offers a little bit of a family environment. I think a lot of our families have been struck by that. Like we've been smashed together in closer proximity, which sometimes is awkward and like you're getting on each other's nerves, but that's good because, it fosters that deeper relationship that we're meant to have, but that sometimes the ups and downs and the busyness of our days kind of doesn't allow. I think the other thing is with that greater time, with just the fact that all of our lives have kind of been thrown up in the air a bit, we've been given the chance for greater prayer and encouraged to pray more. I've noticed that just those times that there's a little bit more quiet with less going on, that allows the Lord to speak and allows me to try to listen. That's been huge. It's important for all of us to have those times that we kind of step back a little bit and really listen for the Lord. And I think for myself, these months at least have offered that. Certainly plenty of challenges, plenty of hardships, plenty of people are hurting, but that's not to discount the good that's coming out of it as well.
So I'm going to have one follow-up question then. So what are you going to try and hang on to as we come out of this pandemic as a result of that?
Good. I think both of those things have been good lessons that I mentioned. One is to clear time for, time spent together. I don't know if that's like, these nights of the week, we're going to do, evening prayer and then dinner together and hang out and play cards. Like, do we set up a time to have a movie night or, to invite people over for a barbecue, things like that, as you work harder and harder to get kind of pushed to the sides, but they're relentlessly important, and I think similarly that time for prayer, not just in terms of like, I need to spend this much time every day, but kind of the acknowledgement that over the long period, I need to take stretches of time and pull myself back just to sort of step aside for the Lord. The Lord often does that with his disciples, like, hey, come away for a while, but to give myself the breathing space to do that, to say, hey, this day or this weekend, or probably not a weekend, but like these couple of days, I'm going to really kind of like, okay, no email, I don't need to do it for right now. I really just need to spend some time with the Lord, get some reading done, go for a long run, and, let his grace kind of sink in a little bit deeper. Don't have everything so put together nicely that there's no room for God's grace to sort of squeeze in the cracks.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Father Dominic. Really excited. Right. I was excited to meet you last year at the marathon, and I'm excited to cheer you on again this year. And
thank you.
And, hope to see great things. I'm looking sub 30.